mathina ona menya maromenge na tukiugate tutige maka inya uragira koinge na tukiugate tutige maka inya uragira koinge ekena inyuothe aciari ekena inyuothe aratai kawira no karathie na mbere gatira coka na thutha kawira no karathie na mbere gatira coka na thutha na twakinya roko wanu tugikora mbũri ekuĩte tukĩrana atĩ tũtingĩrũma tũtikagwatwo nĩ thau tukĩrana atĩ tũtingĩrũma tũtikagwatwo nĩ thau na twathiathia hanini tũgĩthĩnjĩrwo gategwa gagĩcamũka icamũka rĩmwe itungatire tumarĩbu gagĩcamũka icamũka rĩmwe itungatire tumarĩbu na gĩtheri kĩa rokoteni kĩarugĩtwo na ndiramu na nyũngũ igĩrĩ cia ũgĩkũyũ itungatire tumarĩbu na nyũngũ igĩrĩ cia ũgĩkũyũ itungatire tumarĩbu na tũgĩkinya Rwaikamba tũgĩkora kamũthuri gakiuga nĩ gakuamu no rwakiuga kareko koige koigithanie na njirũmbi no rwakiuga kareko koige koigithanie na njirũmbi na tũgĩkinya Mathioya tũkĩrwo nĩho harĩtwo no rwakiuga ciĩkĩrwo ciemba gũtirĩ waire gĩtũire no rwakiuga ciĩkĩrwo ciemba gũtirĩ waire gĩtũire na tũgĩkinya Rwaikamba tũgĩkora kamũthuri gakiuga nĩ gakuamu no rwakiuga kareko koige koigithanie na njirũmbi no rwakiuga kareko koige koigithanie na njirũmbi na twathiaga tũkenete tũgacoka tũkenete rũgendo rwitũ rwarĩ rwega tũgĩthiĩ na tũgĩcoka rũgendo rwitũ rwarĩ rwega tũgĩthiĩ na tũgĩcoka nĩtuomereirie mathĩna ona menya maromeige na tũkiugate tũtige maka inya ũragĩra koinge tũkiugate tũtige maka inya ũragĩra koinge ekena inyuothe aciari ekena inyuothe arata kawĩra no karathie na mbere gatira coka na thutha kawĩra no karathie na mbere gatira coka na thutha na twakinya roko wanu tũgĩkora mbũri ekuĩte tukĩrana atĩ tũtingĩrũma tũtikagwatwo nĩ thau tukĩrana atĩ tũtingĩrũma tũtikagwatwo nĩ thau
Was the case by the colonialist against Kimathi a fair one? Why is written material about him unavailable in the country he fought for? Did Kimathi inspire other resistances against colonialism on the African continent? What happened to the natives who helped the colonialists arrest Kimathi? Well, this is that story. I am Agutu Rosa. On 21st October 1956, Ndiragu Mwau, whose nickname was Githeme, shot Kimathi. Ndiragu, seen here on the left side, was a home guard employed on a salary of 60 shillings a month. He had been selected as part of the team sent out to capture Kimathi. He did not know how Kimathi looked like, but he knew he had to be captured because the reward was enticing. A former editor at the Standard newspaper, Mashua Koinange, recalls his encounter with Ndirangu in 1985. Speaking with KTN News via his cell phone, Mashua says that when he met Ndirangu, he was a remorseful elderly man who regretted shooting Kimathi. The only thing he had to show for the betrayal against his people was a truck stuck in his compound that was never used. In an article he wrote for the Standard back then, Mashua said that Ndirangu was reluctant to do the interview, but when he accepted, it was his chance to seek closure. Ndirangu told Mashua that after days of searching in the forest, one morning at around 6:30 a.m., they saw a glimpse of something. It was a man attempting to cross a ditch carrying a bundle. We shouted at him to stop, but he started running. I fired and missed. I ran after him alone and fired again, but missed as he disappeared into the woods. He followed hot on his heels and caught sight of him as he tried to jump over a ditch. He fired. This time, he got him. I had shot him on his right thigh. He was wearing a leopard skin. His bundle of sugarcane was lying next to him. He was holding a panga in one hand. He studied the man, perplexed. Finally, he asked in Gikuyu, "Who are you?" Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi was Shuri. He answered. Kimathi asked him, "Are you the one who shot me?" Ndirangu said, "Yes." "Newega, it's okay," Kimathi replied, resigned to his fate and in pain. Ndirangu was awarded £150, that is around 23,000 Kenya shillings today. Another officer, Njugi Ngatia, who assisted him in operation, was awarded £75, which is around 11,500 shillings today. The total reward was £500. The remaining sum was divided among the team that was involved in the capture. Ndirangu lived a shameful life. He was treated as an outcast, and the treatment also befell his children, who found it hard to cope in school. In 1986, Ndirangu died. His fellow Home Guards combined their rewards and bought a lorry. It met the same fate. The first judgment in the Kimathi case was done in haste, and when he appealed, it was quickly dismissed. An execution report that is kept at the Supreme Court Museum of Kenya indicates that Kimathi was hanged at 6 a.m. on February 18, 1957. The report, signed by a medical officer, indicates that he examined the body of the deceased and found life to be extinct. Death was caused by hanging, and it was instantaneous. The judgment report that is also kept at the museum indicates that Kimathi was in possession of a firearm, A38 Webley Scott revolver, contrary to Regulation 8A1 of the Emergency Regulations 1953. However, when Ndirangu shot Kimathi, he said he found him with a panga and a bundle of sugarcane. There was no revolver.
He was accused of having a revolver. By that time, he only had a machete or panga. Like somebody who had a sugarcane too, sugarcane too, and use the panga to get, it done. And but there in the trial, they added things that were not there, the things that were rumored about him. Yes, again, it was very unfair. They were even fearing a dead man. They buried him, I understand, with, yes, yes, with handcrafts.
In her book, Kimathi's widow, the late Mukami, recalls that while in prison, warders would come and tell her about the progress of the trial. They would say that he will be convicted because everyone in the court, apart from Kimathi, was a colonialist or a colonialist sympathizer. A day before Kimathi was executed, Mukami was taken to see him. His hands were not cuffed, and the colonialists had gone to great lengths to confirm that he was the one. One of his fingers on his left hand had been partly severed earlier while he ground grass for cattle. This happened while they lived in Olkalau. Many white people had checked his finger as proof that they had captured the right man. The British colonialists promised Kimathi life, wealth and acres of land if he disowned the Mau Mau. After all, that was what they were fighting for, Ithaka na Wiadhi, land and freedom. But he had refused because he had taken an oath. He had two regrets, he said, that he would not live long enough to see his children grow and that he would not live to see a black man raise a Kenyan flag high. Kimathi requested his wife not to let the name Kimathi Washuri die. In case she remarried and had other children, Kimathi asked her to have the children use his name. Today, all the children she got after bear the name Kimathi. Mukami left her husband after being told that it will be good if the children saw their father for the last time. The following morning, Kimathi had been executed. It was emotional torture for her and her children, a psychological game the colonialists loved playing on their victims.
We love her.
Mukami's last-born child, the Chief Executive Officer of Dedan Kimathi Foundation, Evelyn Wanjogo, recalls her childhood as one that was influenced by parents who were traumatized by the past.
So sisi tukikua kama watoto wa Maumau tulikuta wazazi ambao wako traumatized, wanafikiria kwani wazazi wetu waliishi kutuliza, kwani tulikosea sisi kuingia msituni kupigania nchi yetu kwa sababu hakuna mtu anatushughulikia, hakuna mashamba. So mamangu alikaa kituambia, tulipigana na kikombe, tulienda kucheza mpira lakini kikombe kikachukuliwa na wale ambao walikuwa wanatushangilia.
After independence, Mukami Kimathi approached Prime Minister Jomo Kenyatta and requested for the remains of her husband.
Mara yake ya kwanza kuitisha mifupa ama remains ya baba yetu ilikuwa 1963 venye tu mwanzilishi wa nchi Jomo Kenyatta alipoapishwa akiwa Prime Minister. Mama ndio mtu wa kwanza, alikuwa wa kwanza kumwambia msaidie kupata the remains of our father. But to one reason or another, which we cannot bring to anyone, it never happened. It never happened in the second regime, the third regime, it never happened. The fourth regime, it never happened.
Kimathi can be said to be among those young people who stepped forward to respond to the call of the mission to liberate Africa. And he's particularly special because the movement he led has inspired a lot of changes within Africa. You will remember that Dedan Kimathi inspired Mkonde Wesizwe. Dedan Kimathi, when Mandela came here, he said, the person who inspired my politics is Dedan. And the name has cut across the Republic and across the world as well.
The Umkhonto Wesizwe is among the groups that were inspired by Kimathi. Umkhonto Wesizwe is a paramilitary wing on the African National Congress led by Nelson Mandela that was fighting the then government.
I think if we would be fair, we would call him the first Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya and his wife, the First Lady. He is the bearer of the vision that has eluded us all this time. I think that if Dedan Kimathi went to the Lancaster discussions, the issue of land would have been resolved differently because we would not have compromised, because the basis of the struggle was land. And for having been denied the opportunity to go and participate in those discussions, we ended up having a neo colony instead of a colony. So he's the best and remains the best leader we ever had.
It is believed that the remains are at Kamiti Maximum Prison. That is where mass burials were done after the execution. Field Marshal Muthoni wa Kirima, who was part of Kimathi's foot soldiers, believes that for a person to be considered dead, his body must be produced. We met Muthoni at her home in Nyeri before she shaved her locks. At the time, she was 92 years old. She greeted us the African way, bits of spittle on our hands, a sign of blessings.
He was a good leader who delegated duties and was fair. He gave us nicknames so that our identities would be safe. For example, I was called Ngina wa Dhonjo, meaning mother of the bird.
During the struggle, two sets of leaders emerged: those that fought or participated in politics within the framework of the colonizer, and the leaders who refused to join the politics drafted by the colonizers. Dedan Kimathi and Elijah Masinde were that kind.
All those fellows who embodied revolutionary ideas. Now, those ones were excluded. Those who were included in discussions were part sellouts, the graduates of the neocolonial education, led by Jaramogi, Shikuku, all those people. So those They were basically picked because they represented a future that would be neo-colonial.
Political historians have claimed that the government that was set up in 1963 was designed to fail the family of Kimathi and push them into oblivion.
In fact, it is simply courtesy of people's cries that you can see them occasionally mention names like Dedan Kimathi. But otherwise, in their heads, that's a monster they need to exorcise from their brains. So Dedan Kimathi's family has been failed in every respect. It's not just a political recognition. It's also the personal level.
Even in prison, there were radical fighters and conservative ones.
We had Karuki Chotara representing some degree of radical politics. We had Makan Singh, radical politics. People's politics was inspired by Mau Mau. And when Kenya got independence, Kenya did not release them. They stayed for an additional 1 year before they were released. So they come back when things are already in place.
Well, this was a terrorist organization that didn't just defend themselves from specific acts, but initiated acts of terrorism. Do you favor that in this country?
No, I think that the conditions that prevailed in Kenya forced the Mau Mau to take action. And any action that they took, even though it seemed that they were initiating it, actually it was a defensive action, and it was a reaction to the colonial powers that were exploiting them.
But do you favor such an organization here?
Does white America favor the Ku Klux Klan or the Citizens Council? And as long as the government, police bodies, do nothing about the existence of white terror groups that are terrorizing blacks, then it's time for blacks to do whatever is necessary to put these white terror groups in their place. And I feel that a Mau Mau could wipe out the Klan in the north, south, east, and west, and wherever it exists. I'm not against the idea at all.
Done for 300 years the bodies of men. You can shackle the hands of men. You can shackle the feet of men. You can imprison the bodies of men, but you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men. Dive down, black men, and dig. Reach up, black men and women. Reach up, black men and women.
Upper Africa.
Reach up, black men and women. Reach up, black men and women. Reach up, black men and women.
Upper Africa. Upper Africa. Ancient Ethiopia, the fire not the place. Alice Selassie, you know your love I can praise. Down Africa, the people they enslaved. Rastafari, we know. 400 years them slavery. Now them say black people crazy. But all them kill and cheat and steal, them want be chief law. Them never show no mercy when we thirsty and hungry. We have to raise their hands and head to ALKEBULAN. Them say them bad and mad. They make the poor feel sad. I know them smile around and fall like God. Ancient Ethiopia, the fire not stop blaze. Alice Selassie, you know you love I embrace. Down Africa, the people they enslaved. Rastafari, we know. Mama cry and the shackled and chained. Too long she take the blame. She under pressure, she under pain. It's time for freedom of speech. Black people we strong, we know we. No make them come here, come kill we and kick out with teeth. Ancient Ethiopia, the fire not stop blaze. Alice Selassie, you know you love I embrace. Down Africa, the people they enslaved. Rastafari, we know.
You can enslave what was done for 300 years, the bodies of men. You can shackle the hands of men. You can shackle the feet of men. You can imprison the bodies of men. But you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men. Lie down, black men, and take. Reach up, black men and women. Reach up, black men and women.
Over Africa. 400 years them slavery. Now them say black people crazy. But all them kill and cheat and steal them want be cheap, Lord. They never show no mercy. When we thirsty and hungry, we have to raise our hands and heads to ALKEBULAN. Them say them bad and mad. They make the poor feel sad. I know them smile around and want God. Ancient Ethiopia, the fire not stop.